Joining us now live from the Senior Bowl is a man who has obviously been in scouting departments in the NFL before. He's a fantasy football guru for ESPN, friend of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanderfield Yates.
Yay!
Wow!
The hair? Not bad, right?
You look so
How about
cool.
Pat? Can I say, can the glasses stay on or no?
Yes, you can do whatever the hell you need to do, buddy.
Wow.
This is maybe the coolest looking dude that's ever been on our show.
Yeah.
Thank you, Field. Jeez Louise. How's the weather? How's the weather down there? It's cold everywhere. It looks like it's okay in Mobile.
70 degrees for the past 3 days. It's unbelievable. And, listen, I'm a Northeast guy. I live in Connecticut full time. I haven't had anything other than like a hoodie for 3 straight months on. So this is tremendous. I am soaking up every last bit of sun before the Senior Bowl practices include in a couple hours.
Okay, as you should. We're happy for you. We'll try to embrace the 70-degree weather via osmosis here. What has been the big thing that has stuck out down there? I know there's been a lot of heat on Jalen Milroe, maybe not performing that great. Mike Green there out of Marshall, obviously. Debo and the Oregon tackle in one-on-ones has been a story. Tej Johnson, Oregon wide receiver, has been stealing some headlines. What are the storylines of this year's Senior Bowl, you think, Vanderfield?
Yeah, you're on it right there with a lot of those. I'd say that one of the cool things for this year is this is the first real full year we've had in which juniors were allowed to participate in their Senior Bowl. So I think there's a chance that the top-end talent from this class, by the time it's all said and done in April, ends up being about as good as you've seen from the Senior Bowl. That really has been one of the big themes this week. But at the top of the board, you mentioned some of the guys that have made their biggest marks. There's a good crew of pass rushers here this week. Mike Green, you mentioned, who went viral yesterday for decleating Josh Connerly, who, by the way, himself, I think is going to go in the first 15 to 20 picks out of Oregon. Donovan Ezaraku from Boston College, other name, that had such a good first couple of days that he is now no longer at the Senior Bowl. Kind of guys that are doing exactly what they need to do to prove to NFL teams that the perception of those players coming into the week was accurate. And I think the quarterbacks are always going to be one of the big storylines. In this second practice, we'll have Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart, 2 SEC quarterbacks who go about their business in very different ways. I think we've kind of seen with Jalen Milroe sort of the peaks and the pits for this player, right? The very good of Jalen Milroe is the guy who had 20 rushing touchdowns last season. I think if he runs during the pre-draft process, it's going to be a sub-4 4.40 time, which that's obviously uncoachable. But as far as his consistency as a passer, that's going to be something he has to prove to NFL GMs that he can do at a high enough level to be a sustained starter in the league.
Okay, so obviously I hate doing this because we have no idea what the projections are going to be, but Jalen Milroe with the ball in his hand, special. Throughout all of his career at Alabama, when he would decide to tuck it, he was the fastest guy on the field. He had great toughness. He had great vision. Is there any conversations about him potentially taking some reps at different positions, or are we all in on quarterback Jalen Milroe still?
Yeah, we're all in on quarterback for Jalen Milroe. And I think these players, they deserve it. I understand why people ask these questions. It's a natural one to ask, but he might be as fast as any running back that he is on the same field with this afternoon. It's all been quarterback focused for Jalen. And, the tricky part about Jalen is that it's not that he is incapable of making specific types of throws. He's not the best rhythm passer yet. It's just he doesn't do it frequently enough. There was a throw on the first day of practice here that I thought was maybe the best that we saw from any quarterback on the field. It was a dart to a wide receiver, Jalen Royals from Utah State. And then it was like the next rep, Jalen Milroe has a ball that lands in the dirt at the feet of a wide receiver. And you're saying to yourself, if you could just do the first half of what we saw at a much more consistent level, there'd be no question that you would be in the first round conversation. He's a really unique player. I do think that whatever team takes him, hopefully we've learned our lesson from some of these quarterbacks that have come into the NFL young, and Jalen is a true junior, so he's a younger prospect. That I know that we have guys that come in and make their mark like Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix this past year, but those guys are much more the exception than the rule, and development's going to be a massive theme for what Jalen Milroe's early career looks like.
Special talent. And also beloved by his people down there in Alabama. Great personality, great leader. And we saw the viral video, not the one in the dirt, of him overshooting somebody by like 15 yards maybe. And they said his hand size wasn't as big as maybe they're looking for. They're always going to cut you down. Good luck down there, Jalen. We're pulling for you. Conman has a question for you, Field.
Yeah, Vanderfield, down there, does there seem to be one position group that's kind of the most stacked when you're just looking at it? And do you think because of that, will some of the top players in that position maybe drop a little because of how stacked, D tackles or tight ends might be this year?
Yeah, I kind of feel like you've got two draft class jam-packed into one at running back, defensive tackle, and tight end as well. This running back class is so deep. We know that Ashton Jeanty is going to be the first one taken out of Boise State and deserving, I would say he's a top 8 prospect in my book. I just don't know where he'll go because we know that the NFL values running backs in a different way than how the top 100 of your respective favorite draft analyst board looks. He's terrific, but you've got a bunch of other guys that you might see them fall into the 3rd round just because of supply and demand that look like guys that could start. Trevor Etienne, who finished up his career in Georgia, is about to practice here in just a few minutes. I thought he's looked excellent the past couple of days. No surprise, the younger brother of Travis, who's also a big factor in the passing game, or has been for Jacksonville. Trevor, easy pass-catching skills, that much is for sure. But we've seen guys that come in all different shapes and sizes, too, like Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State. Long, he was a Doak Walker finalist in 2023 for the best running back in college football. He had over 1,700 rushing yards 2 seasons ago. Wasn't as dominant this year. But I'm just telling you, you walk past the guy, and if you told me he was actually like the starting defensive end for Oklahoma State, I'd buy it. He is absolutely massive. So how these guys end up falling off the board beyond Ashton Jeanty and a couple others, I think they're really going to come down to what exactly is your team prioritizing, because you've got guys that can catch the ball at a high level. You got guys that can run for power. You got guys that can do a little bit of both. But this running back class is ridiculously stacked.
Can't wait to watch how it all unfolds on draft night. Obviously, we'll be keeping up with Vanderfield until then. Tone has a question for you, Field.
Yeah, Field, I do. And you talked about the running backs. I was looking at the tight ends as well. I mean, Tyler Warren's not there. Colston Loveland's not there. But I saw Harold Fannin has been dominating. The tight end out of Miami, Arroyo, I believe his name, has been dominating. Is this one of the best tight end classes in a few years as well?
It really is. Elijah Arroyo, 6'4", 251 pounds. He averaged nearly 17 yards per catch, which for a tight end is just ridiculous. And you watch him out there athletically. He had a catch in the end zone today in which he jumped high. I certainly couldn't jump as high as he did, but it looked like he barely efforted to do so. And just a reminder of how physically gifted he is. And Harold Fannin, this is one of the things that I keep coming back to with Fannin during the pre-draft process is that when you play against Bowling Green, and with due respect to the rest of that roster, everybody knows what the plan is. It was to throw the football to Harold Fannin last season. So you'd think that a defensive coordinator would say, I don't care if I got to put 3 guys on him. Let somebody else besides him beat us. He had 117 catches last year and over 1,500 yards. The guy's production every single week looked like a Madden box score. So the numbers speak for themselves this past year. And whenever you see these guys come down here, and this is one of my favorite parts of the Senior Bowl, they're guys from Bowling Green and North Dakota State and Alabama A&M and Marshall sort of stepping up in terms of the competition level. How do they look? And I'd say Harold Fannin looks like one of the guys. So that's a good sign for where he will end up as an NFL prospect. He's had a really solid week this week, and he catches the crap out of the ball. That much is for sure.
I appreciate the fact that you're judging these prospects on whether or not they can jump higher than you. I did not know that was a piece of the entire thing.
Part of it.
Absolutely. We didn't hear you, though, because the AirPods cut off. That's on us. I'm sure it was a great line. We only have a couple minutes left before the hard out here. How are the kickers and the punters doing? We hitting big balls or no?
Oh, yeah, we had. So at the end of each practice, these coaches have been doing these call-out competition periods. Well, okay, hey, give me an offensive and defensive lineman, give me a running back and a linebacker, see who wins the rep. The final rep of the practice this morning was not a one-on-one. It was a one-on everybody else. As the kicker, Fitzpatrick from Florida State, had to drill a 50-yarder for everybody to avoid push-ups. This thing would have been good from 65, and there was a bit of wind here this morning. So we got a couple Australian punters. As you know, those Aussies are all over FCS punting right now, and these guys have been dropping some bombs this week, that's for sure.
Yeah, not as many going into the NFL as there had been in the past, but hopefully, whatever gets in there is the greatest of the great. We can't thank you enough for making time for us. Enjoy your time down there in Mobile.
All right, guys, have a great week next week in New Orleans. Can't wait to watch.
Are you going to be down there?
I will be. I'm hoping to get down there late in the week, but I'll come over and I don't know. I'll crash the set. You guys have got legitimate A-listers there, but I'll at least come over and watch from the stands.
Vanderfield.
Dan Marino's joining us, but if you show up with those shades, I think you'd get in anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, Field Yates.
The rod.
Yeah. See you, Field. See you.